Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Friday! Friday for those that have been counting down since Monday. Me personally, I'm like, whoa, slow down, will you? My head is swimming. But, and it doesn't help that my son is like vigorously counting down to Halloween every day. He gives me the new the new countdown, like, okay, we get it. So needless to say, he's excited for some candy. um yeah. Today is Friday, October 20th. Hope you've had an amazing week. And it's an amazing day. What can I say? Started off a bit gloomy where I am, but now the sun is shining just in time. And let's just see what message we have today. Too many to start. If you're heading out for some early Halloween or costume parties, be careful. You know, I'm gonna say it until I might be saying it through the rest of the year, through Christmas, but definitely through Halloween season. Just be mindful where you're going, who you're going with, how you're getting there. Oh, beautiful. Sun card. Excellent way to start, isn't it? Most prosperous and productive card on the deck, about happiness. What can be strength, power, also exposure, vitality. What's not to be said about the sun, honestly? So much there. Maybe you're going to the farm this weekend. Like I was talking about yesterday, randomly, or was it the day before? I think it was the day before, not so randomly, as a matter of fact. Yeah, enjoy yourself if you are. Kids are gonna have a good time. What else is the sun giving me? Sunflowers are definitely a projection of the harvest and of a fruitful crop, a strong seed. It has many seeds within it, so there's some opportunity for an expansion of growth in a big, powerful way. Where it may just be a burst of energy, also a burst of energy or a burst of happiness. You hear the bird confirm it for us. A burst of vitality, a sudden epiphany is all these things that I'm hearing. Sudden epiphany, and this could all contribute to this 9 of Pentacles energy. By the way, this is the secret garden, that personal harvest of yours. This is almost more universal, but this is definitely doubling down on it being something very unique and personal to you at this time, as to what this explosion of bliss just might be. Maybe some of you are really celebrating your independence at this time. You hear this bird going off. Oh, wow. So, and there's a bird here, if you can see, celebrating your independence at this time, but maybe perhaps like what you have cultivated on your own or within yourself as a harvest. There's definitely that, because the 9 of Pentacles is one who manifests from the inside out. It is a material card, but it speaks to her exuding and emitting a vibration of prosperity. And that's why she has a lot to show for it here. And the card itself is very yellow. A lot of joy, right? Yes, hallelujah. I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. Maybe there's some travel with the horse card. What else does a horse signify? I hear gallant, or is that valiant? It's a white horse. So there's something coming in that is, or there's some transmission that is very prestigious, I would say. When we think about a white horse, man, it could even almost be a unicorn, right? So something powerful is brewing. Because I never channel all this from the Sun card. Of course, I get excited when I see the Sun card because it's the most powerful energy in the deck, and of course that we have exposure to in our celestial sphere, right? But there's something bigger here that's about to burst, like a sunburst. It started in the heavens, and now it's like you see what I'm saying? It's like the sunflowers here are the representation of the burst in a natural sense, and this is like the material harvest, the burst, and maybe perhaps, as I said, a windfall of abundance, some unexpected money coming your way, or an opportunity that brings the segue for a sudden shift in your financial security and stability, and I would say satisfaction more than it just being secure and stable. There's some highlight of satisfaction here because the Nine of Pentacles wants for nothing. She's like content in her own little world. You know, she's accessible by way of the outside world, but she could be completely fine and contained where she is without any external interference or influence, you know. And with the baby going to the 9, the baby in the card is like giving me some accelerated maturity, like almost like I'm saying this burst, like the harvest, like you just planted the seed yesterday and then Saturday or Sunday you're already seeing it sprout type of situation. Maybe you've been working diligently. This was the week to do it, to be really putting in, you know, putting your mind and your intention and your focus, if not even your actual hands and feet, to the field, you know, this week to support the manifestation of whatever supreme outcome you've been objectifying. You know, before that, when we were in that full moon energy, that's what it is. It's because of, it's like the aftermath or the harvest of that solar eclipse that we had. That's why, okay, thank you, Spirit. That's why I'm like so stuck on it, because I'm like, why is the sun, it's almost like staring me dead in the eyes. You know, if you can't see, the sun actually does. I have eyes on this card. But it's like some seed that was sown perhaps during that time, you know, maybe it was just by way of your affirmations, you know. It didn't have to be physical, but perhaps it was, and perhaps it was just the intention or the mindset, the focus, the devotion and diligence and spirit to some outcome. And now it's like about to just appear before your eyes is what I'm feeling. You know, like it wasn't here yesterday in the physical form, but today, if not tomorrow, or maybe perhaps some evidence of it this weekend, I'm getting something pretty sudden. But let's keep going, because I'm stuck. I'm stuck on astonished right here. You know, perhaps something you know, something powerful is coming through this weekend. And, you know, I feel like a great disparity between these two energies, this being the difference between, this being the difference of, and yeah, they're both 9s, absolutely. This is the difference between the seed sown and the magnitude of harvest that are in expectation. Now, if you've been following or watching my videos this week, you know that there's been some karmic energy coming up by way of some potential spiritual or even physical imprisonments. This is a representation here, if not physically so, definitely the anxiety of a spiritual imprisonment where you don't feel free in your own mind. And this is a complete contrast here. You know, the total octave of each other. The Nine of Pentacles, who's very content. You know, she's settled, she's in harmony and peace with herself. She is unbothered, to put it in a word. This is someone who is very bothered about something. You know, so I guess like I'm saying, you know, like I've been saying, is to be mindful, because the sun gonna shine regardless, right? So if this is you carrying all this sun energy everywhere you go, but here in this total contrast is this darkness, you know, despair, doubt, agony, so many lower vibrational energies that are just a complete octave of the sun energy and joy and vitality. This is someone that's more or less afraid of what tomorrow holds. That's what this energy represents. Anxious about the future, about something that perhaps hasn't even occurred yet, but anxious about the unknown ultimately, but not having very much hope for how it gets to be. You might be careful to go in spaces that don't align with your vitality at this time, because this is a very karmic and dharmic season. It's intensified right now. As a matter of fact, Pluto has gone direct. Any minute now, Saturn is fitting to go direct the top of next month. And the karmic scales are already being balanced. And some people haven't necessarily received their harvests just as much as they haven't received their dharma any more than they've received their karma. But there's, just like you may have a sensation, like I said, this burst of joy and expectation. I know I felt it today, you know, just in prayer and meditation. It was like gratitude and grace just overflowing within me for what reasons that really don't materially make any sense. You know, if you knew my circumstances and my story, like, you know, for the most part, some might say there's much left to be desired in my material life. But for me, spiritually, energetically, I feel so grateful to be alive and to have an outlook of, to have a presence of peace first and foremost, and to have an outlook of hope and unfailing faith. And I'm just expectant for not just what is to come, but what is already. Like I that joy to manifest in the now. You know, it's no longer me putting it off into some distant future, like, oh, one day, one fine day, one sweet day, I'm gonna, you know, have everything that I desire. I have it already. It's already mine. This is the energy of this manifestation in this Nine of Pentacles card here. It's like, even when you don't have it to physically show for, your energy is what the harvest is plentiful of, you know, and that's what ultimately is the attractive force. And this, in the same but different regard, this energy is attractive for the things that would induce anxiety. When you have a hopeless outlook on life, oftentimes you're going to create or attract that fate, you know, and there honestly could be some reason why, and most likely is, you know, a reason why for the disparity in these ideals, you know, because this is someone that knows they have something, they justifiably have something good to look forward to because they've planted good seeds. You know, you may have planted them 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like I said, you may have planted them just last night, and you wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden, sunflowers. Where'd they come from? Someone else may have been planting swords, lies, manipulation, treachery, deceit, perhaps inciting anxiety in others, you know, mental discontentment in others, or imbalance in others in some regard, and that harvest shall spring forth as well. You know, so all that to say that if this is you, you absolutely have nothing to worry about. The only thing to be mindful of is just maintaining this vitality by being careful of where you place your energy and what you allow to connect with you. Because someone in this state of being is not going to make a positive impact on someone such as this. You know, there's too much of an imbalance there emotionally and energetically. Someone that is operating in that lower nature of anxiety and fear is bound to make some impression or have some influence on somebody that's working in the other frequency. It just is much less likely to make an impression the other way, with a greater impact, you know, than for it to have some detrimental effect on the other one. And or balance out, and in that regard still there means that someone needs to come down in order for the other to come up. So, you know, just be careful of your incitement to want to heal others right now, as if, you know, because sometimes we can feel so glorious in our own, you know, energy that we just want to give it out. We just want to we want to sow it into others. And I believe that there's definitely a time and a place for that, and perhaps it is within this Libra season to some extent, but still being done with discernment, because everybody's not in a position to be uplifted to the place where you are at this time, and you may actually burn yourself out, literally burn yourself out with the sun energy, or burn them out you know, to try to impress your joy upon someone else that's just not in a position justifiably to receive it. So, you know, don't cast your pearls against swine, not to call this man swine, because I'm definitely not calling him that. You know, there's prayer that goes an even longer distance in blessing someone than your physical presence ever has to. You know, that's the first step of distant healing, is actually affirming someone's well-being, if you even feel ordained to do that, because you're in no obligation to do any of it. But the biggest obligation you have is to protect your own energy, because if the sun goes down on you, then nobody wins. You know what I'm saying? You know? And then here we got the King of Cups, loving King, the Fool. Interesting energy. Let's get one more. I'm getting some, let me see what the third card is, but I'm feeling somebody's looking to take a chance in love. Oh! What? Get the heck out of here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Talk about I don't even know what you call it. Talk about calling the energy to the table. Somebody is most certainly looking to take a leap of faith into love. They've identified an object of affection. They've proven themselves a viable partner by way of their own healing and ascension. And the spirit is most certainly in support here with the Ace of Cups. This is true love, and this is unconditional love, side by side. If that ain't an anointing, I'm just obsessed with trying to get it straight. And spirit's like, it's already straight, girl. I don't need your help. So in that regard, maybe this harvest, and be careful out there now, you hear? Libra is definitely a love vibration, but certainly sex, if you know what I mean. Like, what was that? I forget what sitcom that was. Was that the oh man, I can't even remember the joke, but it probably wouldn't even be funny now if I tried to say it. But I think it was The Office, where someone said something explicit like that, like sex um, which goes without saying. And the other one was like, well, you just said it. So, and me saying, if you know what I mean, it's like, well, you literally just told us what you mean. You said sex. Yeah, sorry. My own little comedy strip in my head. But anyway, yeah, so the Sun card is definitely that it could be that burst, you know what I mean? Where perhaps you go from being a single gal or a single bruh, maybe perhaps in another vein, the anxiety here is someone that's been agonizing over making a move, you know, the timing of which to, or missing an opportunity with someone. I don't know. I don't want to give too much to that because I still feel how I feels with what I said, but it could be that, you know, somebody that's a little maybe not as dark of an expression of anxiety, maybe more eagerness about busting this move towards this single gal. Like, what do I say? How will she respond? Will she accept me? Will she reject me? You know, do I have, you know, trying to get all his words in alignment, perhaps just can't sleep, you know, can't really think of nothing else but this Nine of Pentacles. That makes sense in some regard, given the high vibration of this energy. He's worried about presenting himself as, you know, the most viable candidate, in a loving vibration. You know, he's wondering, is that going to translate to whomever his object of affection is? Now, he can sit and agonize about it all day and all night, but it's the one that takes action that ultimately is going to get the prize. You know, the one that says, you know what, I'm gonna take my chances, I'm gonna see where it goes. I might not be the most eloquent, because this, if I'm speaking in that energy to someone that's more so worried about how to express himself. He has a lot of love, and the King of Cups oftentimes can be one that's not so expressive, even though they are very empathetic. You know, they feel a lot, but they don't necessarily always express what they're feeling verbally. So this could be that contrast here, that worry in some degree that he may not be able to actually put into words all that he truly feels, but for whatever reason, he's willing to take that chance with the Fool card here. Now, the Fool card is moving toward the King of Cups, which, you know, for me, I'm always thoughtful about, you know, positioning. But what I like is that it's underneath of the Nine of Pentacles. So there is a connection to the object of affection there, but it's more so him taking a chance and a risk on this new presentation of himself as someone that's willing to be vulnerable and that's open to intimacy with the King of Cups. Maybe perhaps he's more of a thinker and he's learned how to keep his emotions bottled up inside and perhaps not to express them at all. So this is him taking a chance on himself in some new light. And all this yellow energy, he's even wearing yellow, and the cup is just like, I love it. The only thing dark here is this Nine of Swords. So, you know, pray whomever is in that energy finds their way out, because ultimately this is the hope. No matter what the impairment is here, whether it's past experiences, past actions or seeds sown, whatever it is, at this point, even if you're waking up in a cold sweat, at least you're waking up. You know, if I'm going to address this in the worst case scenario, that there's still breath in your body, even if you perhaps are feeling imprisoned by your own thoughts or actually in some state of confinement. There's always an opportunity to choose your higher self, to answer to that call and to take a chance on starting fresh all over again, to love yourself and to accept the unconditional love of the divine. Yeah, for sure, we all responsible for the energy that we expel. As I said, karma and dharma is being dished out accordingly, but the universe is still just, you know, and if the spirit is willing to lead the charge for a new state of mind, then the universe will answer. I just truly believe that. You know, you can hold me accountable for it if it, in fact, it doesn't prove true. But I believe that if you still are here, it could be for some great purpose, even if it's just for you to make a change before you're not here anymore, you know, to do something different, think something different, be something different, and have a different experience. And you, man, people, it's no wonder, you know, and you could take it how you will, but people turn over a new leaf in prison every single day, whether it's in an orthodox way through religion or just educationally, through wisdom of their experiences, emotionally. You know, there is always, and that's to me, that's one of the worst places you can possibly be in an actual physical sense. You know, it's even worse when you're free and you're a prisoner of your own body or mind and disconnected from your spirit. You know, that's different because you're a bit more vulnerable to the elements than someone who's in a controlled environment. But you still have an opportunity in some of the worst conditions to be the very best of yourself. There's a YouTuber that I like by the name of Banky Pound. I follow him on my other channel. And he was in prison for something menial, quite honestly, but he went to prison way back in the day in Virginia, no doubt, when you think they don't give a shit about men, poor or black or, you know, minority. At now, things have changed drastically from the discrimination even back then. And he tells stories about his time. And it seems like he was away for like 30 years or something, like 33 maybe even. And his exuberance for life now, like he literally has a light on him. And it's crazy to say, but it's like you would want to believe that he must have been born for that path, to go in, have such a hard time, have experienced so many hardships, come out, give his testimony, share it in a way that's so interesting, because the stories are so freaking interesting, just to hear how his experience through those 3 decades evolved, and to even compare how it still ain't, you know, in some ways isn't that different at the core of it all. It has, you know, the difference is there are cameras and there's more accountability now than there was before. He was in prison, imagine that, when there was no cameras, when nobody had to be accountable for their actions. So guards was doing anything to inmates and people were literally not making it out alive, you know. But all that to say is that he had a horrific experience by his own account, and has come out not super religious or anything like that, even though he definitely gives reverence to God and his expression. But it's more so how he uses his wisdom to encourage others to not even ever to stay away from the things that would even put you in a position to have that experience, because he makes his memory so vivid that not only is it entertaining and intriguing, but it's also inspiring. You know, it's like, all right, well, I for sure don't, even though it sounds funny or it sounds like a movie, that's one movie I do not want to live out in real life, you know. And hopefully he really truly makes that impact on young people that listen to him to shift, you know what I mean? So it's like there's hope in any circumstances. And 33 years later, coming out, still having a positive outlook on life and being able to start your channel. And he started his channel on a whim, being a guest of someone else on another channel. And now his whole platform is like growing relentlessly, like day by day. And he's diversified into a cooking channel where he shows you how he cooked different things inside. You know, it's like that's transmutation, you know, taking what could have been what it was for sure a very traumatic and toxic experience and making something light of it, making something grow from it, you know, literally sowing those seeds into good soil and harvesting something much more prosperous. In this case, it's inspiration for others to know that if you've been there, he can relate, and he can connect to your plight and your pain. And perhaps if you've never been there, then maybe something he has to say will keep you from ever going. You know what I mean? So that's transmutation at its best. So shout out to Banky Pound. That's BANKY Pound. I think that's the full channel name. But if you search that, you'll certainly find him. So I recommend you let your young men tune into some of his stories, because I swear, like, it's interesting. And like I said, as the stories are sometimes, it's not him glorifying his time per se. It's not condemning it either. He's just telling the raw, naked truth of his experience. And he always rounds it out with some inspiring message, some caution, for whomever is listening. It's powerful. It's really, really powerful. So for anyone, like I said, the worst of your experience, the worst of trauma, the worst of toxicity, the absolute most horrific life experience you could have ever had still has value, not only to you, but to someone else. And it could be exactly what you were designed to experience, and to ultimately express. So let's see, one more. Okay, and then we got that here. All right. And that's that wounded warrior, but I like how he's looking toward the Ace of Wands. He's looking toward his true power. I like that. Because sometimes with that wounded warrior, it's like they can be stuck in a time warp, stuck in their own what do you call it? I mean, and perhaps it could be connection to that darker vibration I was speaking of earlier, but PTSD is what I'm experiencing. And that's the difference, right, of what I was just explaining, where you could have someone that has had some pretty wild experiences, maybe felt like a late bloomer, or maybe perhaps felt that they planted some seeds, made some decisions, some investments energetically that didn't quite pan out in the way that would be most desirable, something that the Knight of Wands would want to idealize, to objectify in his passionate, lustful nature. And I mean lustful by way of just being energetic toward a thing, Here is purified with the Ace of Wands. So this is like, kind of like what I was saying in a sense. It's like the divine ultimately appropriating your experience to something of power by your own decision, though, because the Knight of Pentacles makes strong choices for positive investments, and he takes whatever he gets from his harvest and reinvest it again, or he has the mindset of due diligence. The Knight of Wands is a little bit more frivolous in his advances, quite honestly, but it also could speak to a fierce passion toward this investment, because I like how they're both kind of turned inward facing this harvest. It could actually be the face-off of someone that's a bit more stable and dedicated to his security and stability, and someone that may have tricked it off, for lack of a better expression, like somebody that took it for granted, utilized his passion or invested his passion frivolously and didn't make the wisest decisions. And as I said before, this is the disparity in the nature and magnitude of the harvest received right here, the two facing in the center. Now, the Seven of Pentacles is definitely one of those cards that's a matter of perception, because you could have someone that sees, this is about due diligence. So this is someone that invested solid, good seed into the ground. This is someone that may, his seeds may have been a bit more sensational, self-gratifying, lustful, in the sense that they didn't really hold, in this regard, as I'm speaking, they didn't really hold a lot of, they weren't grounded. You know what I mean? Like the Knight of Pentacles is literally earth energy. This is fire energy. So it's fleeting in some regard. It can be. But here in the center focus is the Seven of Pentacles, where someone invested over and over. So you could have energies that made this, that had the same amount of time and with the same amount of energy, vigor, attention, insistence, persistence, all of that. But one sold one brand of seed, or one type of seed here again with the Sun card, and the other sold something very different. And it's a matter of how they see what they've yielded, what crop they've yielded, as to how it gets to be empowered. Again, you could have someone that dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's, but if they only still see this one pentacle as a waste of time and energy, consider somebody that went to school, did things all the right way, quote unquote, by conventional standards, or just more or less pretty safe and grounded, as I'm saying, and someone that maybe was a little bit of a stallion, you know, a wild child. They could ultimately still get to the same place. It's the matter of their perception and perspective of the harvest that they've grown that ultimately allows the spirit to get behind that force and appropriate it or justify it, if not magnify it altogether. So consider, when me just talking about Banky Pound, someone that had a wild experience of life. As a young person, he made one small mistake that ultimately led him into over 3 decades of his life invested into the prison system. Now, he could have taken that as a great loss himself, like, man, you know, he could come out and be bitter and listless, not willing. You know, it's hard for ex-cons and anybody that's had any legal run-in to come out and live a normal life by societal standards, to get a good job, to get education, like make up for all that time lost. You know, if he saw it that way. But he took the pentacle that was given to him, and he multiplied it. He didn't see it as just some penny on the ground. He saw it as an opportunity to plant that seed and ultimately bloom a whole field of opportunities for himself. And now he's diversified beyond, you know, what is even visible on YouTube and social media, because he actually is like a public figure now, where he goes and speaks to others, goes to schools and makes appearances, and you know, he's like a motivational speaker, you know, a motivational figure, all in his own right. Now, somebody that had everything in the world to do the best things in life, went to school, got the degrees, got the good job, you know, with the pension and this and that, could still have harvested a field that ultimately is not as prosperous or plentiful, because they don't value it the same. You know, they see it as you know, as I said, menial. You know, it's not enough for them. And I guess that's the difference when I was saying before, and having this burst of energy is the foundation of your spirit nature. You know, you could have all of the opportunity and even the actual material in the world and still not be satisfied. And so therefore, what the seed that you sow on account of that dissatisfaction is what continues to be harvested over and over again. You could have nothing materially to show for anything of value or sensational satisfaction, but you're just thankful to be alive, thankful to have the opportunity to idealize a different outcome for yourself today or tomorrow. You could be thankful for peace of mind, thankful for hope, thankful for where you've come from, that at least you may, even if you have less materially, maybe you are seeing that you have something else of value now that's immeasurable. You know, that's the mindset of a true harvester here, that whose seed is plentiful on the ground. And it's interesting because usually the Knight of Pentacles is, as I said, the more stable offer and secure in its nature, and the Knight of Wands is a little less so, right? But in this instance of what I'm speaking, it's almost flip-flopped, that either one could have the same promise of outcome or completely different. It could be the difference here in this energy here where you had everything at your fingertips and you still did nothing with it. And the Knight of Wands where you had very little or had to scratch and survive. Literally that lustful energy comes from being in poverty or not having enough. So you're always, feeling in an impulsive position to get as much as you can. And somehow your experiences groomed you in a way that now that power can be manifested into something a little bit more productive, much more, infinitely more productive, as a matter of fact, and powerful, because it comes from a divine support, a divine substance. It's an opportunity and inspiration. That's what the Ace of Wands is actually. It's divine inspiration, taking what you have and multiplying it. And some of us are blessed to have very much, to start with a great advantage. And some of us are not so, don't have such a luxury, but there still can be a potential for a powerful outcome nonetheless. It's just a matter of how you're willing to truly perceive what's been divine to you holistically. And that's the energy here with the Knight of another 9. So that's 999. That's almost all the 9s on the board. What's missing? Oh, the 9 of Cups, that spiritual satisfaction. Now, if it come up in this deck, when I turn this deck over, I'm done, because that's been happening lately. But I would say the implication of it is here when we got the King of Cups, who is the master of his emotional expression, or embodies, that love vibration in a way that is even more advanced and I would say evolved than the 9 of Cups. You know what I mean? The 9 of Cups is like the masculine energy of the 9 of Pentacles, where he's content in his spiritual maturation or accomplishments, what he's created for himself materially, in which he's harvested a great gratitude for, not lusting after anything more than what he's been able to accomplish in his own right, is what makes him proud and what gives him spiritual satisfaction with those 9 of Cups. It literally is like a trophy case behind him as to how he feels validated by his own measure of accomplishment and prosperity in some regard. It's kind of flip-flopped more or less with the 9 of Pentacles, but they're counterpart cards in a great sense. And here we got the 9 of Wands, which is more connected to the 9 of Swords, that lower frequency of energy where there's some lack of contentment, lack of I would say even acceptance with the 9 of Wands card, looking back at previous actions and maybe having a resistance to accepting self and taking accountability for those actions taken, i.e. perhaps in that young state of mind as the 9 of Wands, who was impulsive in some regard, or perhaps even in the King of Pentacles where you had much of an advantage and you just didn't do the best with your investments. You didn't make the most of it. Either way, this is ultimately alchemizing or being invited to alchemize that energy and look forward to, in this case, a forward look toward the Ace of Wands. Now, in space and time, I usually see it as him looking backwards and imbalance, but because of the nature of this reading, and perhaps it's just the disparity of the two perspectives, as I've been saying all along, where you could be one tomato type of thing, literally harvest energy, where you could be looking backwards and disdain for actions taken, choices made, and almost being stuck in that time capsule and that time warp, replaying that trauma over and over again, almost wounding yourself over and over again, beating yourself down. The war has been over, like the battle's been fought and won unbeknownst to you with the Ace of Wands here, but you could have one energy in the lower vibration only seeing the losses, and you could have the other that's seeing the opportunity. Once again, the disparity here that I've been speaking of, where you can have a circumstance that's horrible, but still find value in the on the other side of it, on the upside of it. This is someone that's been through quite a lot. You know, the Nine of Wands is almost a 10, but the 9 means that it is the end of this traumatic cycle. Like I said, the battle's been fought, perhaps even the war has been won. The next energy is the 10, especially with the 1 and the 1 and the 9. It's the 10 of Wands, where you literally have the opportunity or faced with the choice to release the burden because the cycle is complete. You know, this over here, there's no more activity, nothing more is coming at you at this point. There's no new attack or advancement or impact to be made. It's only the memory of it here with the 9 of Wands. There's nothing new aggressively coming towards you. The only thing left is the matter of how you perceive your experience here. So for many of us, we've been stuck in a state of the 9 of Wands. Maybe perhaps that was the insurgence of this burst of joy. Maybe that's what it is, you know, because we've been kind of rounding that home base for what seems like forever, you know, feeling like the worst is behind us, but not really being able to visualize and materialize the win, you know. And so energetically, we've been still sending those signals out into the universe of anxiety, of sleepless nights, maybe even worry about what's next, worry about, you know, things feeling too good. Where's the other shoe going to drop? Or what's something bad is bound to happen because things are actually too positive, too quiet right now, you know? And that's what can keep you in this loop all by yourself with no oppression, no resistance in real time, no actual enemy in sight. You can become your own enemy, willing to stay in this loop where you feel like you almost have to defend yourself and defend your own energy from some threat when there really is none. Like I said, you've literally fought the battle, you've won the war because you're still standing and you're still completely intact. And yeah, it means that you went through quite a great deal, and it's not to be taken lightly or to be, you know, to be, what do you call it, for it to ultimately be, I can't think of the word, when you minimized or trivialized, maybe that's the word. Like it's not something serious, like it wasn't a great feat. It was, like it wasn't super challenging, like it wasn't dangerous, like you didn't have to have all the night strength that you could possibly embody to get through, to break ground and to anything prosperous, let alone to then alchemize that energy into something powerful. Oh, hell yeah, you deserve a parade. You absolutely do deserve a parade. You get to give it to yourself, you know, energetically. You get to cultivate that joy, that happiness, that peace, that prosperity, that bliss, you know, in your own being, and take ownership of it in such a way that you know that you are worthy to receive it. And when you know you're worthy to receive it, then you embody it, and it starts to exude from the energy that you emit, you know? So again, that was a lower vibration, but as I said, the highest vibration is someone that's looking to alchemize those experiences. That's, you know, he may be healing, but he's willing to tell his story, or to at least be an inspiration, as the Ace of Wands is an example, a pillar of power and prestige in some regard, you know, to be creative. That's what it is, to be creative and taking his experiences and making something new of it. Literally alchemizing a whole new creation from something that could have been, you know, very depressing in some regard, especially by way of the Nine of Wands. So anybody that can do that is going to have the anointing of the celestials, the universe, the higher realms, the angelic force in their corner, is to just pour out into a vessel that's willing to express that vitality and to operate, you know, unapologetically in the fullest capacity of their energetic force. Oh yeah, heaven is definitely here to help in that regard, because then you become an example for others. You become a ray of that vitality of the sun in real time in the earth, shining, beaming. As I said, that light, you can't help but see it. And if you're exuding it right now, you have to be careful of the adverse of the energy I've been calling out that may look to suppress it or absorb it perhaps, or burn it or blow it out altogether is another word I'm looking for, but I can't find it. I know you won't allow that to be so, but it is the it is for sure the opposing possibility out there, and it's not to be in this threatened paranoid position based on the experiences that have proven that to be so. It's just to be protective and to be mindful in the most holistic way, in the healthiest way, that you have something of value that is worthy to be protected. And it is you, your soul, not your valuables so much, of course, you be careful with that. Particularly, I feel guided to say with, enjoy the prosperity of life indeed, but be mindful that you are expressing your riches righteously, that you're not just out here, being egotistical or even overindulgent in your expression of your power, or, prideful in the sense that is not balanced. It's okay to have pride and be proud of what you've accomplished and to enjoy the fruits of your labor indeed, but be mindful to toe that line of boastfulness carefully, because the adverse energy can easily attack when you cross those enemy lines into being boastful and things of that regard. And it's not pure, you know what I mean? Like, for instance, you flexing in places that are depressive and, that don't operate in the highest vibration of hope, and you flexing just because you want to show everybody you got it, you know what I mean? Or pulling out hella money, or flexing on social media so everybody now knows, like, yeah, I done came up, There's a very fine line to toe from being a testimony and being what's another word? A testimony and just being I don't know. I wish I could find another word. It'll probably come to me. But the testimony is the key part. It's beautiful to be that living testimony, to be able to allow your light and your life to speak for you. Like, I'm doing well because I'm doing well. And my mindset is exemplary of that. My spirit, my kindness and compassion towards others, my wisdom for sure that's exemplary in the choices that I make and who I align with and who I don't. Not feeling like you have to prove anything. That's what it really comes down to. I was going to say a talisman, a testimony or a talisman, but I don't even know what that is, so I have to look that up later. But just someone that's just showy, that's just wanting to put his status on blast for his own personal gratification or affirmation, literally just to affirm his own ego or inflate his own ego, even worse. That's the enemy's territory to toe right there, because it's not pure in spirit or pure in heart, and it could put you ultimately in harm's way to actually have to defend yourself when you ride through the hood with a freaking Rolls Royce or a Bentley or even a damn Tesla in some parts of town right about now, where people are suffering and feeling, desperate for survival. If you ain't finna, get out and pass out some gift cards or some hope and some, healing or some, and you might want to be careful doing that on the wrong wheels, for real. But if you ain't coming to add value to that community, just be careful how you insert yourself in it. And that's in spirit and in truth. And it doesn't have to be reserved for even hood elements. I'm just saying that because that's one thing, you know what I mean, that you definitely should be mindful of. It just could just be energetically. People might be living in the same neighborhood as you, but don't necessarily have access to the spiritual fulfillment and endless well of satisfaction that you do. So there could be a discrepancy there of you boasting about your next vacation, or how maybe in this regard having explicit expressions of, what do you call it, of affection in unwelcome places, where it's like, all right, and your neighbor and them might be finna get a divorce, and here you go kissing on the lawn and damn near soft porning, on the way to the car or whatever, or at the mall or whatever. I'm just trying to make a point here, and I'm sure you get it. I probably didn't beat a dead horse at this point, but just be mindful that everybody is not living life like it's golden like you, and be sensitive, sympathetic, empathetic, and compassionate toward the disparity in experience right now. At best, you do the best by being yourself unapologetically, for sure, but just with sensitivity. There's a line to toe. And, in the most extreme cases, doing the best that you can in the things that you are creating, the harvest that you are growing, to add value to the field of dreams as they are. Doesn't mean you got to go adopt the nation, or save the world per se. It just means that you have an intention toward leaving this place much better than what you discovered it to be when you came. Leaving a better experience of life, and that could just be through your legacy with the Lover's card, with the baby, the son here. That's about legacy and procreation in the most purest form. It could just be instilling a greater value in your children than what you perceive for yourself. Oh, Strength card, more Leo energy, come through, Leo. And the King of Wands. Wow. And look, oh, I thought that was the devil. So we ain't even going to get at life because I thought it was the devil, but it's not. That's just, again, that disparity. Some people falling out the tower, or it could just be these surprise elements, as I've been speaking to, these sudden changes, because the tower isn't always bad. Like I like to say, it just depends on how you perceive it and how it's making an impact on your life. It could be a sudden windfall of money, and now you have to wisely decide and discern how to spend it, what to invest in, what you may not have had that problem before. Literally having to decide what to do with your energy and time. To have strength and willpower with the Strength card is what that represents. And what was I talking about before? Having transcended pride and ego in a powerful way, in a pure way, as she's wearing all white. And the Wands is about lustful energy, someone that has matured in his ambitions. That's not as in the Knight of Wands, which is a great progression here, especially with the ending with the Wand energy here. This means that you are powerful, courageous, confident in the purest way, and unapologetically so, for sure, as this is also Leo energy, right? Yeah, Leo energy, Leo. What else is Leo here? Well, the Strength card is Leo. So it's definitely shining that vitality unapologetically, shamelessly, as the sun does. The sun don't never apologize for shining, and it never stops shining, even beyond the clouds, right? But it's a vital source. It's not, if we get too close to it, yeah, we could get burned, perhaps. So I guess there's the idea to be mindful that you are a powerful force, and that some people want to bask in your light and some people want to be in the shade. Some people literally are shady and want to hide from it. or want you to dim a little bit so that they can live their lives in comfort. Of course, we're not called to do that as star seeds, literally star derivatives of this light of the sun and this light of source, force of source, force of source, yeah. We're not called to do that, but we are called to toe the line of balance again, but for our own safety and security, quite honestly, because we only put ourselves in jeopardy of being swallowed whole by that beast when we relent to the falsehoods of pride and ego, as I said, wanting to prove something to somebody, wanting to show people up, wanting to be in competition, or wanting to be the brightest star in the room when there's enough sky for all of us to shine, really and truly. The Knight of Wands is an energy that knows exactly who he is. He knows the value of his power, his authority. He's very protective of his energy and of his surroundings. He's certified confident, meaning he don't need nobody else to tell him why he's the shit, pretty much. The Knight of Wands knows he's the most attractive king in the deck, and so is the Queen of Wands. That's the energy, not just attractive by aesthetics and sensuality, but also materially. They set their eyes on something, and with the King of Wands, he's much more proactive in nature to be able to really go get it, or to just in his mind and his passions grasp it and bring it to him, because he's so confident and secure that whatever his passion is attached to is validated, it's justified. And so he has almost a pure entitlement that whatever he sets his mind on, his love energy in the purest form, truly, it's his. It's no questions asked. He's assured of it because he ultimately cultivates that spirit of passion from within that manifests on the outside. And again, I'm saying feminine or masculine, Queen of Wands, Queen of Wands, King of Wands, especially given the Strength card, which is definitely a feminine energy here, and doubling down on the Leo, it speaks to all vibrations of energy here, masculine and feminine, even the babies, that are coming here smarter and wiser than we ever were. All of it is being elevated and upgraded is what I'm hearing. And perhaps, as I've said, from that solar eclipse vibration that still is permeating the realm in ways that were unseen. There were a lot of people doing some dark things under that moon, and I think a lot of the regret is that it didn't quite pan out the way that it was intended or expected. As a matter of fact, it caused more of an upgrade, perhaps, to the targets that were objectified, but certainly for those that were insistent on manifesting positive energy and manifesting a productive and prosperous harvest. All things have been answered accordingly and justifiably, So again, with the Knight of Wands, that's you being in the highest power for creativity, literally being able to bring to life anything that you can conceptualize, anything you can perceive can be conceived and brought to its fullest term. It is so, and so it is. Wonderful reading, wouldn't you say? I think so. All right, well, happy Friday. I'm not going to beat it down no more. My incense has been burnt out. Hope it's not too long. But happy Friday again. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll definitely be popping in tomorrow, most likely, if nothing else, for some brief amount of time. But I hope that you do get out this weekend. I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. There's some chance to rain for me anyway, where I am. But in whatever you do, I hope that it's safe, it's sound, it's sensationally satisfying, it's spiritually secure and physically stable and secure as well. That you're in productive and prosperous surroundings, and that you're intentional about planting your energy and investing your energy in spaces that are ripe for the harvest that you yield ultimately. And that's in mind, body, and spirit. In spirit and in truth, it is so, and so it is. If I didn't say that already, let it be a double confirmation that is definitely an amen type of situation, and a hallelujah while you're at it. Definitely be in joy about what is to be. I said that intentionally because it's not a projection, it's a presence right here, right now, starting with your perception of it being so already. All right, so thanks again. Enjoy your life. And until next time, peace.